Thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. There we go.
So, for those of you that are just joining us, Natalie is from Knitty Natty, and tonight she's going to be chatting with us about crochet goals and deadlines, and how to, I guess, set them and keep them and do that sort of thing.
Yep. Do you want me to start by just introducing myself, or?
I was actually just going to say, it's like, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what Knitty Natty is about, and then I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, awesome. So, hi guys, my name is Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. That's my Instagram and my YouTube channel, and I also have a knit and crochet designs that are under Knitty Natty, but also Love and Stitches. So those are my two kind of like brand names. But I mostly am a YouTube podcaster. I have a knit and crochet podcast every week. I also like to do videos and tutorials. And then I have knit and crochet design. So that's a little bit of what I do. And then do you want me to go right into talking about other things? Because
Sure.
I can do that. I am ready.
I thought you might be.
Okay. I thought I was ready, but hold on. Here I am. Okay, so I am a huge, I feel like my goal in life is to always get as much done as possible. And that totally yeah. And that totally translates into my knitting and crochet. So I have 4 tips for getting more done when you are knitting or crocheting. So I want to ask a question for everybody first, and to you as well. I guess give me some hearts if you would like to get more projects done, stick to your projects and not have a zillion whips, or just in general go through them faster. So that's always
who doesn't want to get more done, right?
Yeah,
especially for me with kids. It's just there's only so many hours in a day and only so much mom to go around, and I need more crochet time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a couple things, and you can tell me if these are things you have tried before and if they work for you or not. So the first thing is to set up times that you can crochet throughout the day. And not just these are my times to crochet, but this is my morning crochet time is when I work on X kinds of projects. So do you do that at all? Okay.
Yes, every evening between probably usually about 8 to 9. I have to be a little flexible depending on how hard it was to wrestle the little ones into bed. But between, that time frame, I tend to work on my crochet projects, the smaller ones, because I'm tired and I don't want to work on the complex stuff when I'm tired, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a teacher, and right now I'm not going to school, but when I had a super strict routine, and I actually got a lot more knitting and crochet done when I was working. So I would go into work every day, and my morning duty was just to watch the bathrooms and make sure the kids weren't playing and not eating their breakfast and stuff. And so I had a bag that I could clip to my belt loop, and I would sit there and I would knit on a sock, and every single day for 30 minutes I knit on this sock, and I never had to touch them except for those 30 minutes, and I would get a pair of socks done every month. It was so great. Now I'm not even knitting any socks because I don't have any reason to carry them around my house, but maybe I should try that. But yeah, so setting times throughout the day that those are your times, and then kind of designating projects. So like you said, you work on the more complicated stuff in the morning, and then you save your easier ones for nighttime because you're probably doing something else, right? Like watching TV or.
Yeah, and I want to be able to chat with my husband and watch TV and kind of just unwind from the day, but I still have that need to get things done, right? Because time's at a premium.
Absolutely. And I feel like the best time right now is, for me, I'm in a lot of meetings all day on Zoom, and like they can see my face, but like they can't see what's in my lap. And like if I'm knitting, especially, I don't have to look, so I can just be there and my hands are going and nobody is any wiser. So plan accordingly. That's important. Okay, so my second tip is like when you have a project that is starting to lag on you, how you can kind of motivate yourself to go forward. So what I like to do is look ahead in the pattern and see like, okay, I have 5 sections remaining, or I have like 30 rows left to go, and then see how I can like break those down over the next few days and knock them out. You do the same thing?
I was actually going to say I've been doing that with this blanket I've been working on. I designed like a corner to corner blanket, but I got stuck right in the middle. There was a lot of color changes, and I'm like, it was really hard to motivate myself to keep going. And then I looked at it, I'm like, okay, well, if I only do 5 rows a day, it makes it more manageable, and it's not like daunting, right? So it's like, you know what? I can whip out 5 rows. That's not a big deal. And then I put it aside and work on something that's a little more interesting to me at the moment, but then I'm still making that progress, which is great.
Yeah. And you reward yourself with more fun projects.
Yes.
Rewards are important.
I'm working on this.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, that is so good. I find that super motivating. I'll even write on my project, like, or my pattern page, I'll write like Monday and then be like Tuesday. And then it kind of like helps me to move along. Okay, I have 2 more tips. So it's interesting that you said working on so many rows per day, because for me, that is not encouraging at all. So for me, I like to set aside time. So like, let's say that I have a project that I hate working on it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm only going to work on it for 30 minutes every day, because just in case I set a row goal that is like, I can't attain in the time that I thought it would take, then it makes me not even want to go back to it the next day. So I'm like, all right, 30 minutes, I set a timer, or like I do something else that I really enjoy doing, that like watching like a silly show. Like I'll watch, a 30-minute episode of something, and like that'll be my time that I work on that project, and then that's it. I don't have to do it anymore until the next day. So that's another thing that I like to do.
Oh, that's good too, right? And you have to pick what works for you, right? Because like for you, setting that time works. And like for me, doing the rows works, because again, if I know I have to do 5 rows a day, but I may not necessarily have an hour or even 30 minutes to sit down, I just know that, as long as I'm working towards that overall goal, I'm still being productive and I've got something to attain at the end of the day. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, one more. Don't underestimate the effect of doing a little bit here and there. So I don't know if you have like a project that just like sits in your desk or like is near the kitchen, but like you may not have one solid block of time every day to knit or crochet, but if you do have like 5 minutes while you're waiting for like water to boil on the stove, and other things are going on, or you need just like a mental break instead of scrolling on your phone, if you have that project there, you can just pick it up, work for 5 minutes, and put it down, and you'd be really surprised how much you can get done that way.
Yeah, it definitely adds up.
Yeah. But that's it. Those are my tips. So I don't know if you have any more, but those really seem to help get things done.
Well, I think they're all really great, and I appreciate you sharing them, especially like the last one where it's like doing a little bit, because you really don't realize how quickly that little bit adds up. And I actually challenged myself about probably say a month or so ago, where I was like, instead of taking all this time, like constantly like scrolling social media or checking my email, it's like every time I reach for my phone, what if I took that time and just crocheted for that amount of time instead? And I was like really surprised by how much I was able to accomplish. And it really made me realize like, wow, I spend a lot more time on social media than I had initially thought I did. Right? I mean, Instagram's got the little timer and you've been here for an hour or whatever a day. But then when you look at how much you can get done in that hour, you're like, wow, I had a lot more time than I thought I did before. And it just also helps you be more mindful of how you're actually spending your time.
So my Instagram does not have a timer. So I would be terrified actually to know how much
It,
time I spent.
yeah, it's not necessarily like a timer. It tells you how long you've been. It's like under the activity setting. Um, I found it one day by accident and it said I was spending like 2 hours on Instagram a day. Like this is like a while ago when I was trying to like figure things out and had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, whoa, like I didn't realize I was spending this much time. I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, really like seeing that and figuring out like taking those steps to say, hey, I'm going to replace this time with crochet time and see how much more you get done. It's crazy. Like it will really make you change your perspective of how much time you have available to you every day.
Yeah, I love that. I need to start doing that because I would guess that I probably have the app open. You know, you're not always on it
Yeah.
for like, I don't know, 4 to 5 hours every day because I have a lot of stuff that I'm like putting on there and checking on, and it's a lot.
Well, yeah. And then you've got like friends like you, or like with us, we were like chatting to set this up, or like my friends, or people that we collaborate with, you use Instagram DM section. And then before you know it, 3 hours is gone and you don't really realize it until afterwards. And you're like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And then it really makes you think like, really, should I have been typing out all those messages, or would have been so much faster if I just called my friend or FaceTimed them and said, let's just sort this out. It would have been a 5-minute conversation instead of an hour.
That is so true.
But yeah, like I think that's for me was a big one. And also the blocking off the time is really important, especially if productivity is important to you, or if you're running your crochet or knitting type business. Every time you're crocheting, you can be either making or losing money, right? Or working towards making or losing money. And again, the social media is a time suck. And if you're not using that time wisely, that's time that you could be spending to either promote your business or build your business in some capacity. So I think it's important that you block those times off, or else, before you know it, the time could be gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday I was like, where did the time even go? The days are going by so fast right now.
I was at work today and I'm like, well, I work from home, but I was working and I called my payroll person. I'm like, wait a second. What day is it? Are we supposed to be doing payroll? What's happening? And she's just like, it's Tuesday, relax. But it's like being at home with the kids all the time. It's like, you really don't know what day it is.
Yeah. I don't even have kids, so I don't have that. I don't have that distraction, I guess. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you're in Canada, yes or no? Where are you in Canada?
In Ontario. So most people know Toronto. So I'm probably about an hour or so from Toronto.
Okay. What is your weather like today? I'm curious.
It's actually not too bad. We've had a lot of rain lately, but today was, I'll say 8 degrees. I know that's not how you guys do your temperatures there, but 8 degrees and sunny. So it wasn't that bad, but it got really cold really fast in the afternoon.
Yeah. I feel like that's like probably 50 for us. Let's see. I always think it's funny because for us it was like almost 90 degrees today.
Oh, really?
But I mean, I'm in Texas. I'm in like the southern United States. So it's it's already pretty much summer. Oh, it was 46 degrees. 46 is 8. So for us today, it was 32 degrees Celsius. Isn't that crazy?
Well, it's so crazy because it's like, for me, I go outside, it's 8 degrees and I'm just like, oh, it's so nice. I went out in a t-shirt and it's like, you probably would have been like, this is terrible. I need a parka.
Totally. Oh yeah, someone said they were in California. It was almost 90 today. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's warm.
Yeah, I think the hottest we really get here is like maybe probably between 32 and 34. It doesn't really get that much hotter than that. That's like
Yeah.
your absolute hottest days. But I'll take that any day over the negative 32s, the 37s in the winter. Pass.
Yeah, I've never experienced being somewhere that was that cold. That just blows my mind.
Well, and those are the days where you're just like, you don't want to go anywhere. I mean, you have to, but you're just like, I'm probably going to just freeze in place if I stop moving. And this isn't even the coldest part of Canada because I'm like at the southern tip, right? Amy from Mom Fights the Dust, she's in Calgary and in Alberta, and so much colder there. And I'm just like, nope, no thanks. It's like, I'll stay here.
No, that's too cold for me.
It's like my mom's from Georgia, and even when she came here, it was just like, it's so different here. But she loves winter. I don't get it.
Oh wow, that's so funny. Yeah, I love Georgia. I was born in Georgia, so my whole
really?
family's from there. Yeah. Have you ever been and visited?
No, not yet.
Oh man, have you been to the?
No.
Yeah, you've been to the United States, so yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
In the fall, we went to Universal in Florida. It's the first time we've traveled like internationally with our kids.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. We had to go to Harry Potter World, of course. So
I'm jealous. That sounds so fun.
it was a lot of fun. So it was. We haven't been on a vacation like that in years, so it was a lot of fun. But we don't get there as often as we should. But I like to joke that I got my passport so I can go to the yarn companies in the U.S. because you guys have like Hobby Lobby and Joanne. We don't have that here.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I'm really bad at geography.
There.
What would be the closest like state that
New
Ontario
York.
border? New York. Okay. Okay.
So like
So you could
I'm
cross
about an hour from Niagara Falls. People know Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
about an hour from there.
That's so fun. You're close to all the good stuff in New York though, because New York has all the great festivals as well.
Okay.
For like the yarn festivals, like the really big ones are well, not all of them, but the biggest one is Rhinebeck and it's in New York. And then Vogue Knitting Live is also there. So that would be super fun to go to.
Yeah, no, I was really wanting to go last year, but it's just not practical. And yeah, I always find out about them way too late because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it next year. And then I'll find out about it. I'm like, oh, wait, that was a month ago. Because I always forget.
Yeah, and you have to book them, like those big ones, like a year out anyway, just to get a hotel and stuff. Yeah, or a Airbnb or whatever.
Yeah, I have to do a hotel. Don't know if I could do an Airbnb.
Oh, really? They're great. I love them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me a bit about how you got started in the crochet and knitting designing and with the podcasting as well.
So this started a couple of years ago. I think it was in like the fall of 2017. I decided like I would just start an Instagram. And I wanted to have a place that wasn't like I've been on Ravelry almost since Ravelry started, but there's not a lot of interaction on Ravelry, like when you post your projects. So I just wanted another space to post my projects, but I didn't want like anybody in real life to know. Like I didn't have my face, I didn't have my name. Like I just wanted to kind of fly under the radar and like post my knitting and crochet. But then people still found me. I don't even know how, the magic of social media. And I kind of eventually changed course and decided to like, put my face on there and talk more and interact with people. And so that was kind of the beginning. And then I thought, well, Instagram it's not big enough. I'm going to start a blog. And so I started a blog and did that for a few months. And then that's when I released my first pattern in the summer. And then I was like, the blog is not enough. It's not enough space for me to talk. So I'm going to start IGTV. And IGTV had just come out. So I did that. I did like 26 weeks of little 10-minute episodes. And that was kind of like the last leg, I guess, because then I was like, okay, I'm going to do YouTube. Like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have no limits on my videos and make it big. And so it's been about, I think December 2018 is when I started on YouTube. And so it's been like a year and a half that I've been doing that, and it's been really fun.
And what is your favorite kind of video to produce for your YouTube channel?
I just like doing my podcasts. I actually just recorded one, finished it like a couple hours ago. It's just every week I get to sit down and I have them right here. I'll like pick up my projects and be like, this is what I've been working on, and this is how much I did since the week before. I mean, talking about the productivity thing, it makes me see my productivity or say, oh, I need to get back to work on that project. But it's just a fun, I just sit and I chat and talk to myself for about an hour, and it's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite thing to put on there. It's a lot of fun.
That was honestly the biggest thing for me when I did my first live video and then eventually started the YouTube. It was like getting comfortable with no interaction, right? It's like you're just talking to yourself, and I'm not the most suave person in person. And so I'm like sitting there on the camera, I'm like asking questions. I'm like, why am I asking this question right now? There's no response. Nobody can respond to me because it's not live yet. So that was like a really hard thing to do. But like, I've watched some of your videos, and you look like a complete natural. It's like you just get sucked right into your videos, and it's like you just want to keep watching more. And I think they're great.
Oh, thank you so much. I find that talking without interruption can be a little bit easier. Sometimes, like when I meet people in person, I'm like, they're probably like, you're so quiet, because I'm like, I'm a lot different. I can be on the camera, and then when I'm in person, I'm like a much more, like if we're in a room, a class of people, like I'm the person that's just sitting and listening. Like I'm not the one that's like, hey everybody, like over here. But on camera, it's way different. So it's funny when I meet people in person, they're like, oh, you're so quiet. I'm like, I know. I'm really not, but it's just because we're in a big old crowd. When we're just a few people, that's when I kind of open up. So.
Well, it's great that you found that avenue for you to express yourself that way. And it's funny because, again, like in real life, unless you really get to know me, I'm the person that's like sitting there in the corner, like, minding my own business. But then once you get to know me, it's like, could you please be quiet for 2 minutes? Please stop talking about crochet. 2 minutes. That's it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Now, do you have anyone like close by that you crochet with or meet up with?
And that's my husband's Aunt Michelle, who's essentially my Aunt Michelle now, taken over that part of the family apparently. But we both kind of picked up crochet around the same time. We took some courses at Michael's, and we were going to these courses. And then after we were done, we're like, you know what? Let's just keep doing this. We'll just keep crocheting every Tuesday night. And we called it like Crochet Club. And then it, through family jokes, became Crochet Coven. And so every Tuesday for, I don't even know how long now, like years, I just go over there for a couple of hours and we sit, we have tea, and we crochet together, and it's a blast.
That's awesome. I love that. I miss that right now, like seeing people in person and getting to hang out and see their projects and everything.
Yeah, we just did our first FaceTime one last week. And so we're like, we're not letting this isolation thing stop us. We're going to start doing the FaceTime now. So that's what we did. And because we haven't done it in over a month, I had all my projects. I'm like, look at this. Look what I've made. It's since the last time I saw it. And she's been seeing me work on this blanket design. I'm like, look, this close, this much left, I swear. But it's just so much fun to have that other person, right? Because I can only talk so much crochet to my husband until he's like, yeah, I'm watching TV now.
Yes, agree with that. Mine is supportive though. He will be like, I'm like, I just need you to get like excited for me, even if you don't understand. Like, just be like, oh wow, look at that color, or just say something. And so he's pretty well like trained. I don't know, that's not a good way to say it, but like he like knows how I want him to respond. But it's not enough. You're right. It's not the same.
Well, definitely like to have somebody who understands and actually is genuinely excited about it. Like my husband's supportive too, and he definitely an enabler when it comes to yarn. He's like, "Oh, did you see this? You're gonna love this. I know you are," and it's great. But he doesn't always understand, beyond past the color, why I would want to purchase that yarn or not. And to have that person that says, "Oh yes, you know what? I think you've probably seen it, the Johnny Depp meme where it's like, girl, this yarn with this project, yes." It's like so like to have that person and go through the yarn store with that person, it's definitely great.
Yeah, that's funny. Kate, do you know one of a Kate? She's one of my friends. She's like, my husband deserves more credit because he knows knitting and crochet terminology. He does deserve more credit. He does a pretty good job.
That's awesome. So mine edits my videos, and he was saying like he was bored, and I said to him, "Hey," I said, "you should learn to crochet." And he's like, "I've seen the videos, still don't get it, don't want to get it. I'll edit your video." So I was like, done, I'll take it.
That's amazing that he can edit them without like knowing what. That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's also really handy because like he's a computer programmer. So if I ever get stuck or anything and he loves doing that stuff. Like he takes my photos for me, he does the editing, and essentially I just give him creative brain for the YouTube channels, like whatever. And he figures it out. If he has questions, I help him out. But for the most part, he just takes it and goes, and it always works out really well. So
Wow.
I'm very, very lucky in that regard that he enjoys doing those things.
Yeah, that is so awesome. That saves a lot of time for you. Get a lot more done.
I was just going to say, it also helps me be more productive because he takes care of the stuff I'm not crazy about, and I'm doing the stuff I'm more passionate about, like the designing and the crocheting and taking the fun.
That's awesome.
And so we were going to play a game of Never Have I Ever. And anybody who's watching can feel free to play along with us. And so I've asked Natalie to do things a little bit differently tonight. Instead of me just asking her all the questions, she's going to have some questions to ask me as well. And if anybody wants to chime in with your answers, please feel free to do so. We want everybody to have a good time. So since you're the guest, I will let you go with your first question if you would like.
Okay, so I have several to choose from. So, never have I ever made someone stop the car because I spotted a yarn store.
No, I've asked, but never had it executed.
You're better than me.
I'm like, stop, it's right there. And he's like, no time, just keeps driving. So the request was there, just didn't get to actually stop the car. Have you?
Oh yeah. We were driving through Colorado, I think last summer, and we just happened to like pull, we were driving to a destination, so we were making a pit stop, get some food, and we're about to leave, and I'm like, that sign says yarn, and so we pull into the parking lot, and I'm like, all right, I'll be back in 10 minutes, you guys. My husband slept right through it. It was his mom was driving, and when he woke up, I had a bag, and I was just sitting in the seat. I was like, you missed it. Went to the yarn store.
My husband always jokes that Michael's is like a time warp. Because every time I say I'm going to be right back or I'm going to be 5 minutes, he says it's an hour. No matter what, 5 minutes is an hour in Michael's. And I swear I've gone in and I think I've been very quick. I've gone in, I've gone to the aisle I want, grabbed my stuff and gotten to line. I come back out and he'll show it to me. It's proof. He's like, you've been in there for 20 minutes. I'm like, no, it's 5 minutes. He's like, no, 20 minutes. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I don't know how it happens, but every time I go into a yarn store, he's like, time warp. He's like, he just pulls out his phone and he's like, all right, I'll see you in 20 minutes to an hour. Like, all right.
I love that. That's hilarious.
And so some of the people in the comments have said that one person said that they were guilty of having the car stop to go to a yarn store. And then it looks like two other people have said that no, they have not done that.
It's okay. You have time.
Yeah, right. That's not next on the list of things to do.
Yeah.
The crochet bucket list. All right, so I'll ask you one of my questions now. All right. Have you ever wished that you had a live-in maid, cook, or personal assistant so that you could spend every minute of every day working on projects?
Yes, to an extent. You're not going to like this because I actually like to clean. So I would be like, are they doing it right? I'd be like, I don't know. But no, I would. I would really like someone to cook. I do not enjoy cooking, or I don't enjoy coming up with like the ideas and then like shopping and then making. I don't like the whole process of that.
See, where I would rather cook all day, every day, plan the meals. Like I'm actually a pretty decent cook and I love experimenting with different things, but I don't like the tidying up aspect. I don't mind, like, for me, it has to be done a certain way. And if my kids are trying to help or my husband's helping, then I'm just like, okay, mom's getting a little crazy now. Everybody just go stand in the corner somewhere until I'm done.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. Yeah.
Okay, so what your question is next? Oh, I see we have some answers. People are heck yes, yes. And Cindy says she really likes to clean.
Yes, I do really like to clean. I know. I don't know what it is with like the my way thing, but sometimes I have to like leave the room when somebody else is doing something. I'm like, this is all about me. This is my problem. The way they're doing it is acceptable. And I'm like, you can go back later. Like taking dishes out of the dishwasher, and I'm like, okay, clean them now.
That way, because like he has this very like specific way things need to go in the dishwasher, and so I'll get it all set up, and I think it's good, and then I'll move on to the next thing, and then I see him like follow up behind me, and I just kind of hear like clink, 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 and I turn around, I'm like, there was nothing wrong with that. There was literally nothing wrong with that. They were going to get cleaned.
That makes me feel better. I feel like I have like a connection with your husband now. Oh man. Okay. The next one is, have you ever spilled food or drink on a whip?
Yes. I've spilt coffee on, I was making like these little face scrubbies. And I was like making a whole bunch of them to like give as like package as gifts. I'm drinking my coffee and one of my kids came over and like jumped on me and it just kind of like went poof. And I had a few of them in my lap. I'm like, well, those are mine now. Thank goodness it was so easy.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, it's just coffee. It washed out and they're still usable, but it's still like in that moment, you're like, no, because now you have to make new ones for people.
Yeah, and especially if it's like stuck. Well, I mean, for knitting, if it's stuck on the needles, it's like a lot harder to wash. So yeah, you're like, what can I do now? You're like holding the needles out of the water and like trying to wash. It's a mess.
Oh my gosh, beet juice.
Oh, no. Beet juice, Chantal. Oh my gosh. And oh my gosh, Tristan said orange juice. You guys, that is terrible. Oh no, Bethany. I know. I had some of these questions planned for, like, I did a live on Saturday and we did some of these and it was hilarious to hear people's answers. And we didn't really get to hear stories, so this is so fun. I love that. No,
well, my next question, I like to ask this of everybody who plays this one, only because the people who are participating always have the best answers. And it also makes me feel a little bit better because this has definitely happened to me. So I'm going to ask you my question, and it is, never have I ever lost a crochet hook in my hair or somewhere on my body? Or in your case, because you could be replaced with knitting needles.
A knitting needle. Well, have I ever lost? Oh my gosh. Not in my hair. My hair doesn't hide anything. I don't think I have. I've definitely lost like crochet hooks and knitting needles like in the couch or like in the movie theater. Like I take knitting everywhere, so I've definitely dropped things and lost them in places, but just not on me. I don't think I've ever done that.
All right. So I think it says Chima knits, cable needle in her ponytail or her bra.
Oh, okay.
My people, because I'll show you what I do. So I've lost them down my bra many times, but I shove them in my mom bun all the time because I'll be like, oh, I have to answer the phone. I shove it in my bun and I go on. And then I'm like looking everywhere for my hook and then I can't find it. And last week, no word of a lie, I had 3 of them in my hair at one time. 2 were the same size. And still, I was just like, Steve, I can't find my hooks anywhere. I think Abby's taking my hooks again. And meanwhile, I've got like this array of hooks in my hair. And he's just like, come on, like, you haven't figured this out yet. They're in your hair.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny. No, I just like drop my hook and then I like can't find it. Like I drop it in the bag or in the project, but I should start putting it like behind my ear or something. That would be smarter.
Well, and that's part of why I put it in my hair, because it's like I take my crochet with me, I shove it in my bag or whatever, and then I've almost always got it. And because if I put it down, it's definitely going to go off with a child or into my couch, right? But then, unfortunately, I'm just not bright enough to remember that I've put it in my own hair. So, and I've had it fall out of my hair and into my hair.
Oh.
Because I wear like hoodies kicking around the house. And then I'm like, so definitely need assistance on a daily basis to keep track of my own tools.
That's so funny.
And somebody's left us we've got more. So we've got, they get lost in the blanket I'm covered in. Had that. Never in my hair, but always in my blanket on the couch. And then somebody not in my hair, but I did in the car on a road trip and made my mom pull over on the freeway. We spent like 20 minutes trying to find it and got so upset we couldn't. And we had to go eat. They said we had to go eat food to calm down.
Oh my gosh.
And then the same person said she actually fell asleep with one in her hair once.
Oh. That's so funny.
But I'm glad I'm not the only one that this kind of thing has happened to, because sometimes I'm just like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I keep track of these hooks? And that's why they're all over my house, because they'll fall out of my hair or.
Oh man. Well, maybe one day I'll join the club for that one, because that's hilarious. I love that. Okay. I'm trying to think which one I want to do next. How about, okay, I like the answer to this one, so maybe you'll have a fun story for this too. Have you ever dropped a metal hook in a quiet room?
Yeah. So, one night my kids had fallen asleep, and my favorite hooks are like the Furls Odyssey hooks, and as you know, like they can be a bit heavy, especially the bigger hook. So I had this like heavy hook, and I was crocheting. It was like 1:00 in the morning, and so I'm like trying to be extra quiet, and then again lost my hook. I'm looking for it, and it just rolls off the edge of the couch, falls on the floor, and it felt deafening. Like it probably wasn't as loud as I thought it was, but I'm like trying to be sneaky, because if the kids see me crochet, they're going to think it's okay to be up. And so I'm like sitting there going, oh gosh, like, did they hear me? And like holding my breath to see if anybody gets up and comes to see. And I'm like, oh gosh, thank goodness. And like, at least it wasn't like an embarrassing situation, but at the moment I was just panicked thinking, I'm going to have 2 kids up at like 1:30 in the morning, and they're not going to go back to sleep. And I'm getting really tired.
Oh no. I love
Have
that.
you?
I feel like I always do, but like in a yarn store, like where it would drop on the hardwood floor, and that sound is just horrible. Like especially if it's like a Boy or Susan Bates, just the plain aluminum, it it's just everyone jumps and like we know what it is, and we're still like, and then everyone's like, okay, where to go, where to go, where to go, but nowhere like I don't know public that I can think of. I'm sure I have done that. But I saw someone said that they dropped when they were rocking their infant to sleep.
Oh no,
Oh my gosh.
that'd be awful.
You know.
Especially because like sometimes you just work so hard to get them to sleep, and then you're just like that moment, your heart just stops. Like, please don't wake up, please don't wake up.
Oh, someone said in the waiting room at the hospital waiting for a doctor's appointment. Oh, that's good. Because that's like, it's going to be super loud, and then like people are not going to be used to that at all. That's funny.
And then if it's like a crochet hook, people are like, "Oh, do you want your knitting needle back?" And you're just like,
Yes.
"No."
I always just say yes. I'm always like, if somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, look, you're sewing," I'm like, yeah, I'm working on a shawl. Like, I don't even care because they're just trying to be nice. I'm like, yep, I'm
Yeah.
sewing. It's okay.
So I actually have a theory about this, and it's funny because it somehow comes up at every point so far in these live conversations I've been having with makers. Is that I think that there are two camps. There's either you are like very don't care about the situation, like you can call crochet knitting or knitting anything, whatever, because you use it as either a point to educate, or you're just like, whatever, they're showing interest, this is really cool, whatever. And then you're in the other camp that's like the other end of the spectrum is like, and they just start yelling like, this isn't knitting, and they just like freak out. And so I'm getting really confident in believing that there's no middle ground in that. It's either you're just like, yeah, whatever, or you're just like really hardcore about, this is my craft, call it the right thing.
That is so funny. I've definitely been that way before. And then I don't know if it was like me noticing it or my husband was like, that's not very nice. I'm like, you're right. That's not very nice. And who cares? Like, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. So then I just was like, oh yeah, whatever. Unless they ask, are you knitting? And I'll say, no, like I'm crocheting because I have a hook, and like try to be super nice and not like teacher,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
teacher voice. Calm on
It's
the
like,
outside. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
well, yeah. Or it's like, you try not to be like, so you're showing interest. This is how you single crochet. And just dive right into a full-fledged explanation. And they're just like, gosh, I was just trying to be nice. And my eyes glaze over.
Exactly. That's happened to me before.
All right. So it's my turn for a question. I have to choose which one. Okay. So this one's also kind of get some kind of funny answers. Used the wrong materials because you were too lazy to get up to get the right one.
Oh, okay. I like that one. Yeah, like all the time. So with knitting, do you knit? Like, do you know how to knit?
Yeah, I know how to knit, but very basic.
So every knitter, I don't care if they're like, I only knit, blah, blah, blah. They probably have a crochet hook to fix knitting mistakes. And
right.
So, but I like never have a crochet hook when I need one. So I will use my needles to fix like dropped stitches and knitting all of the time. Trying to think if I don't really do like cables that often, so I've never like picked up a pencil or something for a cable needle or done anything like that. I've definitely used at school all the time. When I don't have stitch markers, I'll use paper clips. That's probably got to be the most common one for me.
Yeah, I've done that. Someone
Nail
said
clippers.
And you know what? Nail clippers are actually a really common thing that people use when they're knitting or crocheting on a trip, like on the airplane. Because one in my some of the groups that I belong to, one of the most common questions I see is, can I take my stuff on an airplane? And people are nervous about the scissors and whatnot. And the most recommended thing is take your nail clippers. You're allowed to have those, and they can clip yarn, right? So, oh man, so I use a coffee stirrer for a cable needle when knitting at work. That's awesome.
That's so fun. Yeah. Usually it's stitch markers, or like I'll put stitches on something if I don't have an extra needle, or yeah. What about you? I'm curious about your answer.
Yeah, I've definitely done it. Like I've used, again, I'm starting to see a trend in that there's a problem with my hair. Bobby pins. Like I'll pull a bobby pin out and use it as a stitch marker. So I've used that so many times. I've been really lazy, and I've been like, I should really use this yarn. And then it's on the other side of the room and I'm too lazy. So I'll kind of just adjust things and use a different yarn. You know, just lazy. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, you almost always regret.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know. I like I don't use scissors very often. I just break my yarn, or I feel like those are not even like not using the tools anymore. Like that's just the way that I do things now. I'm just like, this is how we do it here, so we can be anywhere.
Yeah, I've actually seen somebody try to use their teeth to like cut, like to break the yarn. And I just can't bring myself to do that. It's like I've been really desperate to cut something, and I've used keys. I've used keys to break the yarn instead of like scissors. But yeah, I can't do the teeth thing. That's too far, I think.
I'll go through and I'll like separate the plies, and I'll like break every ply. Like if it's a really strong, like with a lot of nylon or something in it, you break each little ply. It's not very easy to weave in after that, though.
No.
Okay. Do we have time for more questions? Okay. Have you ever ripped out a finished object?
Not a completely finished, but very close to finished. I frogged a sweater like 1 or 2 rows from the end. It was like right when I first started, and I thought gauge was a guideline that didn't necessarily need to be met. And so I didn't check my gauge every time I did it. The body felt okay, like the size was okay, but the arms were huge. I just became really frustrated, and I just decided rather than waste the yarn, I'd frog the whole thing. And so, yeah. And after that, gauge was very important.
Yeah. Sometimes you only need to learn that lesson like one time.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody said they got it done and didn't like the shawl, so they frogged it.
Yeah. Reclaim that yarn. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, definitely. Have you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I frogged something just a couple weeks ago that it was sitting finished for like a year, and I wasn't wearing it. Like I would try to wear it sometimes, and like it was a sweater. I'm like, this is just not working. And so the yarn is beautiful, and I didn't have to cut it very much. So I knew when I wound it off, I would have, several large skeins left. So I'm like, yeah, let's rip it. So it's yarn now. I just have to find the perfect project for it. Yeah, like I even wore it a few times, and nope.
Well, that's the best thing, though, is especially if you know that, you're not going to be having to do a lot of cutting, is that you can literally just repurpose it and make something else that you like even better.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like from the comments, we're not the only ones that have done that. We've got somebody who said, yep, didn't like it, blocked it, still didn't like it, and frogged it.
And usually I'm like, there was a point in time in this project when it was a whip that my brain was telling me I should not go on. And so I'm trying to listen to that voice more now and stop things before they get that far.
Well, yeah, just like with that sweater, as I'm like working on the sleeves, I'm like, man, this seems big, but it was like one of my first garments I'm trying. I'm like, maybe I just don't know enough yet. It's fine. I just got to finish it. But like, I knew in that moment I should have stopped. but nope, just kept going.
We're guilty, all guilty of that, I think.
Yes, definitely. And I say that was very similar to one of my questions. Um, so what my next question is, have you ever hidden your yarn that you bought from so your partner could not find it?
I don't think so. I definitely, so when I first got married, we've been married for 3 years in July. I went through like a phase of like a lot of ordering stuff online. So it wasn't so much as like I had to hide the yarn once it was in the house, but like if things were getting delivered to the door, I'd be like, I'm just gonna take this on into here, because I was starting to get like, you got another package, like that kind of stuff. So yep, I guess I have hidden it before.
And somebody just said literally right now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
so, that's so funny.
Oh, this is good. Somebody says, I have a package that I haven't opened because he won't notice the package, but he'll notice the new yarn. Awesome.
Sometimes when you just have so much, like they can't see it. You can just put it in there. Oh,
like you just kind of like tuck it in there and they don't notice.
Or just start a new project right away. They won't be able to tell.
Yeah. But part of the reason I asked this question is because it gets so many people, either they're like, nope, I have no need to do it. My husband or my partner is super supportive. And then you've got this other like camp of people that's like, absolutely, like all the time. And I always love like everyone's response and kind of what they do. Some people will tell you the lengths that they'll go to hide their yarn, and it's hilarious. And even though they're like, they think it's funny and it's such a good story sometimes. So
yeah. I don't know how people hide it. Like, how do they not see you spending your money? But I mean, I do have, like, since I do, knitting and crochet as a business, I'm like, well, this money is, if I want to buy yarn, then who cares?
If somebody says, thankfully, my husband doesn't care, as long as I'm happy, he's okay with it.
Yeah. Mine doesn't care either.
Yeah, mine's really good. And actually, he's probably almost as bad as I am when it comes to yarn. Like, if he ever comes with me into the Michaels or like a yarn store, and he sees something, he's like, oh, it's like, this is really pretty. Do you like this? Like, do you like this? He's like, you should make a hat with this. It's always a hat. The recommendation is always a hat. And so the one time I know that I have hidden yarn from his is this yarn he actually wanted me to make a hat out of, and I had to hide it, right? Because I would never have bought it normally, because it's definitely his color choices, not mine. And so we brought it home and I hid it so he wouldn't know, I was going to make him this hat, so it would be a surprise. So, and it ended up being a surprise, but it still was like, oh gosh, it's like, this feels dishonest.
See,
but it was a good comment.
Because that's not the first thing that comes to mind when it's like hiding from your spouse. It's like, oh, I was hiding it to make them a gift. Like, I was hiding it so they wouldn't know I spent the money on it. I saw somebody say they're like, oh, I managed the money too. I'm like, that's right.
Someone said, my grandma would get new dresses and put in the closet for a few minutes and then wear it. And he'd ask, is that new? And she'd say, oh, I've had it for months.
Oh my gosh. Cute.
And someone says, yarn husband goals.
Aw. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very lucky in that I don't actually have to hide it, because he's just as bad as I am. And if I'm like, hey, I really like this, or I want to make this into X, he's like, yeah, whatever. If you're using it, I don't care. If the only problem is if I have it, if I were to ever just stop using the yarn, that would be when the problem would come in.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna comment on that one.
It's like, I'm never not going to be using the yarn. So.
Well, I mean, I'm sitting right now in my bedroom. Normally I would be in my yarn room, And if I was there with that background, we would, you would see why. I have a lot of yarn down there.
Yeah, I have all my yarns upstairs, and so but this is down here is where I shoot like my videos for like YouTube and stuff. So,
oh, that's cool.
But it's that way I can have like a dedicated space, and I've got all my lighting and everything set up, so it's much easier than setting up and taking it down and having kids running around while you're doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at, setting up, taking it down, moving it around. The lights like that I'm using right now, my husband also does, makes videos and he streams video games and he has like a green screen. So he will literally take these lights and then go and take them into his office and we'll just share them. So I'm like, are you using the lights right now? I need the lights for a video. We have to like bargain between when we can use stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and someone says, I'm always surprised with how okay my husband is with me buying yarn. He will buy me local yarn when he travels for business, and I love it.
Oh,
yeah, that's awesome.
My husband used to do that. But now we just travel mostly together. So if he was traveling for business, maybe he would do that too.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, my husband doesn't really travel, but the last time he did, I told him, I was like, you need to get me some yarn from there. Get me some yarn, because he went to Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, I'm not getting you any yarn. Get out of here. Like, it's not happening. And then he came home with like 4 of the most beautiful, like hand-dyed skeins of yarn ever. And I'm just like, here I am thinking he got me a pair of lobster socks. And he came home with this gorgeous wool.
Oh, that is so special. I love that.
So it's nice when they're supported like that.
It is. That's awesome.
So I actually have a question. I meant to ask you at the beginning, and it's not related to the game, but like when I comment on your stuff, I am obsessed with your color choices, and I need to know how you make the most beautiful color choices every single time. Like without fail, you have the most gorgeous color choices ever.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I wish there was a strategy that I had. I don't know. I pick what I like. And honestly, like I sit with a project like in yarn for a really long time before I cast it on.
Oh, okay.
So I will like, cause I do have a decent sized stash. I'm actually working it down pretty rapidly now that we're in quarantine, but I'll be like, okay, I want to make this shawl with 3 colors, and I'll like take different sets of 3 colors and set them out, and then they will like sit there on the back of the couch or wherever for a few days, and I'll just kind of like walk by and be like, I don't know about that one, and I'll like change it and I'll swatch. I mean, I will spend a lot of time pre-project to pick something out. And I also used to work in a yarn store, so I feel like that sort of helps a little bit because I was always helping people pick out yarn for their projects. So got some skills from that.
Well, it's like I think it's called the Yarn Cozy, your latest like the striped one that you made. Absolutely colors in that one. And
well, now that one is dyed that way, so I cannot take any credit for that.
But yeah, you obviously have more patience than I do, because I'm always I'm like, oh, these look good, and I start crocheting right away. But we have a timer here that says that they're going to drop the call in about 10 seconds.
Whoa, okay.
So if we get disconnected, we just hop back on, and hopefully everybody will rejoin us, and we'll finish our
I'm back.
Hey, at least we got a timer this time. When I went live with Claire from Eclair Makery last week, I didn't notice if there was a timer. If there was, I didn't see it. And we're just chatting away, and then suddenly the call was dropped, and we were both like, "What just happened? Oh my gosh!"
That is so funny.
Yeah, and then so we both got back online, and we're like, "Okay, oh yeah, there's like that hour thing."
Yeah, there's always limits on stuff. Like, you got to keep up with all the different ones. It's too much.
Oh yeah, it's just like Zoom is like free for the first hour, and then I forget. There's like so many different ones. It's hard to keep track, and everybody uses something different.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. I'm making something right now that I said I was going to do earlier that I didn't do. So I'm like typing on the computer for you guys. So
And so while you're doing that, actually, I'll ask you another never have I ever question.
perfect.
Have you ever crocheted with your non-dominant hand?
Yes. So I like I said, I'm a teacher, and I have had several like after school clubs for knitting and crochet. And there was one group of girls that I had, and two of them were left-handed. And so I've had to start like learning to crochet left-handed, and it was literally like learning again. It was so hard. But I got decent enough at it to like show them. Like, I would do it with my right hand because I'm right-handed, and watch, like, literally be like, okay, I'm going under and back. I'm like, all right, under and back or whatever. And then I, got a little more comfortable with it. And then I did a series of like basic crochet stitches. And I made them both right and left-handed because I don't have the software to flip videos. So I actually literally made them right and left-handed, and that was so hard. Even just making like a double crochet swatch, I would sit there and I would record the video, and then I would have to like go get an adult beverage because it was literally that much concentration. It was so hard, but it was good. I pushed through it. Now I can do it. So if I ever need to do that or teach somebody, I have it. I have the skill. What about you?
Yes. So I did the Craft Yarn Council teacher certification for the level 1. And in order to pass, you need to be capable of teaching somebody that's left-handed to do at least the basics in a teaching environment. So I'd never done that before, and I was just garbage. It was a mess. And then so part of the certification is that you actually speak with a master teacher, and usually you would do like a video chat like we are, and you would actually have to show them like how your swatch turned out, or teach them left-handed how to do it. I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't show her, but leading up to that, I was like so stressed out trying to perfect crocheting with my left hand. And I'd been doing so much crab stitch for a project I was working on at that time. So when I was doing my left-handed singles, I was actually doing crab stitch, and I'd have to like frog it and then go back and be like, no, not this way, and then change it up. And then I went through all the stress, and I was telling her about it, and she's like, whoa. She's like, stop practicing doing it with your left hand. She's like, because it reminds you what it's like to be a beginner again. And it like helps you connect with your student who's brand new, and you might be going too quick, and if you're with your dominant hand, and it just helps you connect with that person and reminds you where everybody starts. It's like, because you can't be perfect with both hands, right? So that helped, and I still do it from time to time just to make sure I remember how to do it.
Yeah, that is so true though. It makes you like slow down a lot, feel like a beginner, and it's so awkward.
Well, yeah, and then like it's so easy to just want to switch to your dominant hand because you want that speed. At least I do. But to force yourself to slow down and show somebody, I think it's a good thing to be able to do.
Absolutely.
Do you have any more questions?
Oh yeah, I've got more. Let's see. Have you ever had a pet attack your yarn or your crochet?
No, I've had my cat show interest only like maybe the odd time after my kids like tried to get them interested, but otherwise she just wants to sleep on it.
Aw, that is so cute. Yeah, my dog is usually doesn't do anything, but for some reason there's a certain type of yarn that he just loves, and it's mohair yarn for whatever reason. And so there is a skein of mohair that I just had it like sitting on an ottoman, and he got to it and it was just a tangle mess. And so I'm like, I can't even deal with this right now because this is not any normal yarn. This is mohair. It's like literally attached to itself. So I picked it up and I threw a blanket over it, like completely covered it. He didn't even see me do this. And sure enough, I come home from work the next day and he's gotten it again. So
no.
I have learned mohair it cannot be left lying around, or anything that's in like a true ball. Like if I run it into a ball, it just looks like a toy, which I understand. So I have to keep it from him. Aw.
And people are saying my cats love wool yarn. It must be kept away. The one cat destroyed a wool project. Notorious Amy says, I have a dog door and one of them steals my yarn all the time and takes it outside. Oh my gosh. She says she's found it strewn across the lawn. And Ginger from Yarn Geek says, Yarn Geek says, Penelope tears my yarn off the shelf so she can sleep on it. I feel very lucky that my animals don't really have any interest in it then.
That just made me think of another time. The worst thing that actually happened, my dog wasn't even trying, but like, I don't know how, like when I sit and I am crocheting or knitting, sometimes I'll put my yarn like if I have an ottoman, I'll put it in front of me. So there's like a little, a path from me, the project, to where my ball of yarn is. There's like, a string across. Yeah. Okay. So my dog, one time he comes underneath in between and his tail or something caught the yarn and it scared him. And so he like ran and he pulled the whole project. And then there was literally a line like where it was knitting. So the stitches had gotten pulled and there was like a line in the knitting. I had to rip it all back down to where that was.
Oh,
it was
no.
horrible. Oh man.
I've had it where my dog has like been sleeping next to me, or she's gotten excited and jumped on me while I'm working on stuff. And then like the yarn gets tangled and, she jumps off the couch and takes off, and then, the yarn goes with her, but never where it's like been a deliberate action. It's almost like an act of terrorism at that point. It's like, don't touch my yarn.
My dog, I don't know if you can hear my dog now. He's being terrible. I don't know what he's doing.
What kind of dog do you have?
He is a mutt, but I think I'm not going to be able to remember right now, but he's like a mix of a few different things, but he's real sweet most of the time.
Yeah, I can hear him
now. He's just sitting. What he does is he sits in our guest room and he looks out the window, the front of our house, and anyone that drives by or walks by, how dare they, he just starts barking at them. Yeah, his name is Toaster.
That's awesome. Like my cat's name is Bacon and my dog's name is Biscuit.
Oh my gosh, they're like all the perfect breakfast foods.
I was gonna say, together they make breakfast.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
That's awesome. And the funny part is, like, we didn't even name our dog. Her name was already Biscuit, and we had the cat named Bacon. And then so everyone thinks like we're super obsessed with food or like breakfast food, but just happened that way.
Someone said their cat is named Gravy. Oh, that is so great.
That's awesome. So after I used to love the show The Office. And Dwight was like my favorite character for the longest time. And I really, for the longest time, wanted a cat to name Garbage. I really want to name a cat Garbage because of Dwight. Like, I got this cat for you. His name is Garbage because that's where I got him.
Oh, I love The Office. Such a good show.
All right. I think I have another question for you. So this one's really basic, but I think that everyone has a relatively different answer. Have you ever regretted saying, sure, I'll make that for you?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a specific time though. Oh yeah. I can think of a time, but maybe I can think of a different one to share. Um, oh, I don't know. It's just it's hard. Like I have adapted it, something to say to people now because I've lived that, and I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything super specific, but now I just like to say like, well, I only make things for my family. Like, and that's not, I mean, that's not really like, how can you argue with that? It's not, you don't say, I don't have time, or like, not that like you couldn't pay me enough, but like it would cost too much, because people will be like, well, I'll pay $200. Then you're like, oh crap. Like, I just really didn't want to do it. So I just say, you know what? I only make things for family, but I would love to teach you. And that's just like done.
You have got that down to a T.
Yeah.
Say, I once, a little while ago, somebody answered the question, and it was, they said that they'll do it for you, but they mark up the price, kind of like an inconvenience fee. And they said that normally sends people the other way.
But what if they say yes? That's my fear. I've done that because I used to work in a yarn store, and I would do commissions, and so I'd be like, oh, I really don't want to make that. And I'd be like, it's gonna be like, I don't know, it might be a big project. It might be really worth the price that I said. And I'm like, they'll say no, and they're like, sure. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it.
Now you're stuck.
Yeah.
Someone said, one of my seniors jokingly asked me to knit a pair of socks, but now school is over and I feel bad for him. So I think I have to, but the socks for graduation.
Aww.
And someone else also said that they offered to teach them to make it themselves, but they never take you up on it.
Nope, never.
I mean, for me, the only time I think I've ever regretted saying I'll make it for you is like when I know I'm overcommitting myself, but I don't want to disappoint that person. But so it's like generally now I only say yes if I make sure I have the time, or I just, because I don't really do finished items anymore. I spend most of my time designing. That's kind of my out. Especially if I don't want to do it, it's like, well, I'm sorry, I really don't do that anymore. But I can help you find somebody who can, right? Or like you said, how to make it, but they almost never take you up on that.
Nope. Oh man. Well, I think I might be coming to the end of my questions. Do you have any more?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay. Yeah, those are all the good ones anyway.
Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, and plus some of your questions are close to mine, so it's not point reading them.
That's a fun game, though. I like playing that one.
Yeah, no, and it's fun to do something a little different, and then everybody who's watching can play along as well. And I think that I like that as well, because, sometimes it's hard to find a way that encourages people to interact with us. That's entertaining for everybody, right? Rather than just asking the same old questions. Everybody's got different experiences, and I love to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you had something that you wanted to share to the people who are watching.
Yes. So if you, let me make sure I'm saying the right thing, getting on the right. Come on. Okay. So if you are interested in, I've got a coupon code for my patterns on Ravelry. I am going to try to do it for Etsy too, but Etsy is a little tricky. They're really not made for pattern sales. So if it's not working on Etsy, please go to Ravelry. But the coupon code is for 30% off any of my patterns right now. I have knitting and crochet patterns. I think I've got about 20 of them combined. And the code is LoopyLamb30 for 30% off. So super simple, LoopyLamb30. Yeah. And it'll be good through the end of tomorrow, I think. Yeah. end of tomorrow. So as people watch this back, they'll still be able to use the code.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody who's watching, if you haven't already checked her out, please do so. She has some really gorgeous patterns. And like I said earlier, absolutely gorgeous color choices. I dare you to try and resist them. So and make sure that you head on over. And if you're not already, follow her on Instagram and YouTube as well, because she has some really great content there.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
I'm so glad that we were able to connect like this. And thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Yep. Thanks, girl.
Good night. Have a good night.
Yes, you too.
Bye. Bye.